Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Eye Opener Society. My name's Gary Dean, and I want to start this show off a little bit different. But first, I want to definitely give a shout out to our dear friends, Appalachian Rootworks, rooted in ruins. Please visit their website, AppalachianRootworks.com. Everything they have in that shop is fantastic. And what a selection they got. And if they don't have it, they will get it. But the services offered and the practitioners that are involved, all top notch, and they do such great work. They're very connected spiritually. So if you're in Cynthiana, Kentucky, I drive 8 hours to go visit them. You should too. But if you don't have the time, money, or gas, check out the website, AppalachianRootworks.com, and they'll be able to help you out with whatever you got. Now, this episode here, and if you're wondering why we're wearing the same clothes from last week's episode, it's because we're doing back-to-back episodes, so mind your business. So I want to try and convey my message before we get deep into this. This is important because spiritually, and the fact that we have a church, we're always trying to find ways that help out the collective. Sometimes you need to think outside of the box. The one person who does that the most is our co creator, Lizzie. But she done something recently, and she's going to share this. And it's very personal too, because not a lot of people just go on, a podcast and, tell the whole world about, all of their little personal at home situations. But however, this is really important because I brought it up to her on a personal level the other day. I'm thinking what she's doing is absolutely brilliant because it solves so many problems all in one thing. I'm gonna let Lizzie explain everything this way because it's personal and I'd rather have her, tell it. But we're gonna get into a whole discussion as to why this should be. And again, might not be for everybody. And there's certain situations where we will definitely say this should not be done. But however, Lizzie knows how I feel about this. This is really just like it just occurred to me one day. I know what she was doing. I know what was going on. But then one day it just hit me. I said, "Wow, this is freaking it's amazing. It really does. It solves so many problems because there's a lot of things I'm going on with, within my little family nucleus too as well. And I see the opposite side of it. And it's disgusting and it's so low vibrational. But what Lizzie's doing just raised everything up. And I think if certain people within my nucleus done things this way, although it probably won't because this is one situation it shouldn't, but thinking outside the box, this absolutely works. So, Lizzie, you already know all my take on this, but Lizzie, just go ahead, break it down for us, and let us know what's going on.
Okay, let me see if I can back up just a little bit. In some of our previous episodes, I talked about how me and my husband had split up, and that I was obviously very sad about it, but I was just trying to learn how to love him from this new perspective because that's my thing. I just, want to love people and he's beautiful, so that's easy. But obviously in breakups they're messy and it was hard and we didn't always have agreements on how things were supposed to go. We've got a little baby together that's hard to work out, but we just kept trying and we kept meeting each other where the other person was at. If I didn't want to do something, then we figured something else out that met both of our things. If he didn't want to do something, we didn't do that. We figured some basically we ended up landing into a place where in order for everything to work out for the best for everybody, he's renting the room from us, kind of like how do I explain it? Okay, so it we changed this 40 different times already, okay? Because that's just like how I work now, apparently. It started with the idea because he just wants to be around us and we want to be around him and we can't. It was just so complicated. And I talked about in the last episode, how tight everything is. Now we're gonna go do two households. Like You know what I mean? Like that's illogical, and then it sucks when adults are arguing and like kids don't get that. You know what I mean? So in the start of it, we decide we're gonna borrow Zayla's room. We're gonna rent that out from her for 200. She's gonna come in my master bedroom with the baby and he'll have that space. We'll individually work on ourselves, each other, love in whatever capacity perspective comes from that. But as we keep moving through it and just kind of figuring out where everybody's at, because everybody in the household has to be met in their capacity and what they're wanting and be heard and all the things. Well, my 11-year-old obviously started thinking maybe sharing a room with her mom kind of sucks. Maybe she doesn't want to commit to that for 3 to 6 months while we all figure out how to just like love each other better, you know? And so I'm like, valid, valid. And she does love to sleep in the living room. She just kind of always has. And so I'm like, okay, sure, you could have the living room for like 6 months. But then when I'm really thinking about it, I'm like, she's 11. Like she needs privacy. Like this is people in her space all the time and she's going to feel pushed out a little bit. Even if she's getting 200 a month, like being in the living room is a thing for a lot of people. And so then I started thinking about it and I was like, actually, if I was in the living room, all the stuff would be right in my way, which means I'd have to clean it, which is like my dream right now. And actually, it works out really well because I'm the only one in the household that I mean, I'm the mom, so if I'm naked in a room, like people just, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if people maybe aren't the naked mom. I'm a naked mom, not to be weird, but like if I forgot a towel in the dryer, I can go grab one. But I'm the only one in the household that can do that. And I'm also the person in the household where everybody tends to gravitate around me. Everybody's in my bedroom all the time. Nobody comes in the living room. It's like wasted space. It's just where we store our craft stuff, you know what I mean? And so by moving myself into the living room, giving Zayla the big room made into big, there's a bunch of mattresses in there, so it's kind of like a bouncy house for her and the baby a little bit because we just apparently do everything weird. And then my husband gets his work, like essentially like a little workshop. And one of the biggest things was just our sleep schedule. Everybody needs sleep, and you know me, Gary. I'm up all night long sometimes. And he just doesn't operate that way. He can be up all night long with me and then be up at 5 a.m. And he's now that he's awake. You know what I mean? And so for us to learn how to grow and just be better people for ourselves and each other, all in all, it just made the most sense to work on it all while living together, while doing all this weird different things because ultimately nobody had to sacrifice anything and really nobody compromised because I think at least, we've gotten to a point where each person's concern ended up being met and each person got things out of it that they're going to help them grow and nobody had to sacrifice anything. If I had felt like it was a sacrifice to go in the living room, we would have kept trying to find another solution. But for me, I was excited. I got the bunk bed now, so I'm like sleeping in a fort to protect myself from the kitty hair. You know what I mean? And so, like, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It just the thing is in this process, everybody wanted me, like rightfully so, because everybody's seen these scary situations in custody battles, but everybody wants to fight and make sure you're protected. That's the thing. Everybody wants to make sure you're protected and you understand your rights and you understand what can happen. But I just had this deep feeling that that I can just trust the moment that this too, just like everything else we've been through, is just part of the process. Whatever the outcome is, this is just part of the process. And I met each step like that. And it started in, okay, we finally have a nice system for visiting the baby back and forth for at least a temporary thing. And it just like sped into this whole thing where it's like the family's kind of reunited and we all get to like grow and learn together again like we wanted before, except now we're doing it in this way that's actually working for everybody, where everybody has the space and all the things they needed. That's what we were trying to do before, but I think it just took us separating and really seeing what we needed, what we were willing to offer, the things that we weren't willing to do. You know what I mean? Like, and sometimes you need that like big break in order to like really, really assess yourself and everything. And sometimes things come back together like that, and sometimes they don't. And just because they're back together right now, it's like the whole thing is you can't be committed to the outcome. You have to let go of your expectations. If we did this, but I started listing off all of the things that I need in order to make this work, that'll never work. You're missing the point. The point is I come up with, I need this thing, and I share it. We solve it. The next person comes up with one thing. They share it. We solve it. One thing at a time. Nothing has to move. We all want to just like solve the problem right now. And if we'd done that, we would have moved everybody in on the first plan and we wouldn't have liked it. And then we would have had to do it again and moved it. But like, we just like, I told you we were going to do it, I think like 3 weeks before we actually did it. We're just like barely kind of settling in here. But it's because we were just allowing each thing to just kind of happen. And I think that that's so important because if you're just like clamping on reality, like it just clamps back at you. You know what I mean? And that's it's a little bit better at it than you are. So
So I want to break all of this down because there may be some people out there that are in a similar situation. I'm not saying this is like completely unheard of, but the fact that it's being done, and I want to break it down because it hit me once I started really thinking about it. Because I know Lizzie was mentioning, about rearranging the house again, and and it just hit me that all of this makes sense. Let me first reference one thing though. If you're in any kind of abusive physical relationship, or even worse, even if it is emotional abuse or something like that, this situation is not for you. It's just not. Please don't take this as a definitive, this is what everybody should do because every situation is different. I get that. But these are the things like people, let me go back. How long were you two like actually together before the break?
okay, so we were actually so from the time that I met him, we're coming up on 3 years this July.
Okay. All right. So this is 3 years, still kind of young, and it happens. You could be together. I've been together 11, 12, 13 years, and things break off. If it's amicable, if you're in that space where you're just a regular human being and you understand instead of fighting, and things just don't work out because I always see the bad sides of these right away. Two people been together, let's say even 30 years. And 30 years later, all of a sudden, I hate you. No, I hate you. And I hate you more. And it becomes this whole thing of hate. That hate keeps growing. Well, you had 30 years where there was no hate. Sometimes things just don't work out. People are going to branch off and go down different roads. Now, in some situations, you may find going off to a different place but there's situations now. Most people all have children, young children, and the hatred builds up so much because this is what I'm observing. My stepdaughter and all, and the nonsense she's going through. That's why she can't even be on my show anymore because we got to watch what she says because court, everybody wants to be in court, everybody wants to battle. And the only people suffering are the children, and the children are so fucking confused because they don't know where their home is, what their home is, who their parents are. They're being dragged back and forth to courts the same one thing. And this is all because of hatred, because somebody all of a sudden hates somebody. If you're going in that sort of direction, if you're feeling that it's not working out, it's a big risk. No one's saying it's not, but when you still live under the same roof and you still kind of separate, but separate in the same spot, these things start to work out. Now, you have two children, okay? And they're both in different places. One probably doesn't understand anything, your youngest one, where the other one's old enough and knows everything and it's going to affect them. This builds more trust. It breaks it down slower. It doesn't throw them into that chaos where everything changes. It's very difficult, and especially when you're rearranging your house as much as you do, and then figuring out where everybody goes, but you're doing it all together, everybody. And you're doing this beautifully because you're allowing everybody to have a say in it. So it works out. Even the weird nudity. I don't think there's anything weird about nudity anyway, but whatever. But you're caring for everyone. And again, don't take Lizzie's situation as yours. Everybody has a different situation. Again, if it's abusive and all, you got to get away. Get away at all costs. Get far away. But if you're in these spots, especially newer couples, because this happens, people fall in love very quickly a lot of times. And then you realize we jumped into this a little too quick. I don't think this might work out, but let's get this situation going because it's helping. Again, now, like you said, I remember you had a problem with getting your youngest, you know, well, I got to drive across town and, the car situation, problem solved. We don't got to worry about that now. We're in the same place. Now there's still communication, there's still connection, everybody can still see each other and all. It solved so many problems. Now, again, I have to stress this is working for you, your situation. Everybody's going to have a different situation, but think outside the box. Don't think about hate. Don't build up the hate. Don't go into this whole rage where everybody, because once you start taking everybody to court, the only people that win are the fucking attorneys. That's it. And you're losing, or someone's going to lose out of this, or you might have children and they're going to suffer from it. So think outside the box. And I hope I'm putting that right there, Lizzie.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. And I'm so glad you brought that up, that like my situation is not necessarily for everybody. This works well because we like being around each other. You know what I mean? If we were to the point where we couldn't be in the same room together, that should not be the way that we try and reconcile figuring everything out. You know what I mean? But it works for us because everybody here wants to. And that's the thing is even if they're not abusive, if you don't want to, you don't have to work it out with somebody, even if there's kids. There's still a way for you cosmically to meet everybody there authentically with love and make out a situation that works best for all of you involved. You know what I mean? And so it's not that necessarily my situation would fix it for everybody, but you got to think outside the box, as you said. You got to lean on love, but you got to honor your capacity in that. And I think what you said was so important about how sometimes the anger just comes out of nowhere in relationships. And I think, from my perspective in watching people in the world, something that happens cosmically is I kind of talked about this, especially in monogamous relationships. You go home to them every day, they are your person, your like only person, which means anything cosmically you were hoping to learn or work out is now through this person. If you guys are now catering to each other and kind of coddling each other, you guys never grow, you never learn. One day your soul wakes up and goes, God damn it, I was supposed to be so much further. And now it's like all of their fault. And I think that this happens, after 30 years, after a couple of years. The thing is relationships are really complicated. You have to kind of take it a little bit at a time and decide what you really want to do and let the other person decide what they want to do. Because somewhere there's a happy middle ground where nobody's sacrificing and nobody's compromising. And if you're feeling like someone has to sacrifice, someone has to compromise, then you're not on the solution yet. You're not there. You keep going.
Yeah, that's a very well thought out way of looking at it. And it's true. It's open communication. That's all it takes. Everybody's so petrified of it. I don't know what the big deal is. Being completely honest, being completely truthful to someone will open up a whole line of communication and would solve so many problems because somewhere in there, like you said, no matter where you are in the relationship or how far apart you think you are, there's a middle ground somewhere that could be worked out. Whether it is, hey, okay, move in, but just pay rent. This way now it feels like it's not a relationship. It's you're renting a room from me. You're a roommate at this point. If it all shifts back to where it was and it gets better, that's beautiful. If it doesn't, but it's still working out as it is, That's beautiful. It's a common ground. It's a middle ground. We take this rage, we take this hate all the time. And I know I brought this up before, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's the same thing. If you've been married to someone, say 30 years, and then you start taking, oh, I hate that person. She's such a this, that, and you use it. Well, that's a reflection of you. You were married to that person for 30 years. And if you hated them so much, why did you stay married? This is what just aggravates me because I see this all the time. It's just always hate. Sometimes things come to an end. We must accept that. Once it comes to an end and we know and everybody feels that and everybody's on the same page, that's it. We've reached our end. Time to go our own separate ways. We could work things out. All this material shit, who cares who gets what? We need to just find that happy medium, that happy balance where everybody's happy. And this sounds so easy. It's just the way I'm spitting it out. It's like, but it doesn't happen. And I think that's why I was so impressed when you told me about all this because I said, you're doing what I'm thinking should be done. And I see how it's working out beautifully because I
Well,
started seeing the aura coils again pop up on my feed.
well, the, oh man, I forgot I was gonna say now. I do love those oracles.
I'm sorry for ruining your train of thought.
No, that's okay. Um, oh crap, I really don't remember what you just said before that.
I said oracles.
I know, and I was like, oh, I haven't oracoiled yet today.
Yeah. No, I was just saying how because of how everybody goes to hatred and all that,
Oh.
and how simply I say it, you represented that.
The thing is it's so easy to be like, let go of all fear and urgency because anything you feel you have to do or should do is a lie. Like that's really easy until you get that call from the bank, until you and your partner are having problems, until all these things, the 3D world is like arguing with you. It's like it's so hard. But the thing is like it's just stories. Everything. Like everything that happens in the universe is actually neutral. It's you that decides it's good or bad, and then the outcomes pattern off of that. And so you have to let go of the story, which means sometimes you have to sit there and cry about how wrong everything is going and let your brain tell you all the things that you're holding on to that are what you think is real, what you think is true. And whatever like comes up and you just like allow it to be and then just allow it to go because if it came up in that moment, that's probably not accurate. That's not cosmic inspiration doesn't come to you when you feel shameful or scared. That's comfort and it comes to you. It comes to you when you feel good and you feel solid. And sometimes that means you have to cry like a little baby to get there.
Yeah, definitely. Or even kick a garbage can. Either
Oh,
or,
yeah.
whatever way it takes to get there, you get there. And this was just beautiful. I'm so happy you're able to just share this with with everybody because it is personal. I mean, but things like this really matter. It's simplicity. We're gonna have further episodes. I mean, we're gonna have an episode all about sex, raw and explicit, but it fits into the whole spiritual world. It fits into relationships that we've spoken about, and we've spoken about them through a few episodes. And this now, relationships again. But this matters because, again, we're all in this kind of stuff together. Some people got it really made and they're single, right? They don't have a care in the world and they're probably turning us off right now. But you do, at some point, we have to realize we're all human beings. And even if you are single, you might get into a relationship and you're going to remember what we said. And you're going to probably see some signs where your new significant other might not be seeing eye to eye on something. Rather than turning that into raw hatred, just transmute it into, okay, we're at some sort of crossroad, open communication, you talk about it and find that middle ground. It's easy. To me, it's so easy because I simplify my entire life down to the most simplistic thing. And I think as hard as it is, especially for you, Lizzie, like I said, physically, the moving of furniture and all, but things really worked out. not just for you, not just for your husband, and everybody's got their spot. But think about it. Your 11-year-old Zayla, she's making $200 a month. I want to
She's
be in that
ecstatic.
situation. Yeah, I want to be in that situation. It's easy to bribe a kid, but hey, you might need to give up your room. But here's a benefit: you're going to make $200 a month. Getting her prepared for the 3D world, right? And the capitalism and everything else. I see a lot of beauty in all of this. And again, I'm saying this because it really, really struck me on such a very emotional level. And it's because we don't see beauty in everything anymore. We always see the hatred and we always see it's so easy to hate somebody. It's so easy to be violent towards somebody else. Why can't we just find that middle ground and just come to a better decision, a decision that's outside the box? So I thank you so much for, sharing all that with you.
I think it's because we're all scared that the other person is going to do something out of our control. And whether we respond in grief or anger or whatever it is, if you really let it be, you'll notice it circles down to what you're scared of. And I kind of just think cosmically, maybe that's just probably holding people back.
It is a lot of that fear, a lot of that's being scared. It's our ego. We don't want to be wrong. We want to always be the one right all the time. But when you're in a committed relationship of any kind, it's not one-sided. It's always two people and there's no winner, there's no loser. Each person is their own specific soul and they need their space as does the other, person. And that's what we get scared of because we're going to get scared of we're going to lose something. We're going to lose the person that we love. We're going to lose the person, we're going to lose that respect or we're going to look bad because I failed at a relationship. This is stuff religion teaches too, and that's why I'm out of religion. And this is why I think the church is moving spiritual because we're so anti giving a religious aspect of everything because again, a lot of this indoctrination. No one could get divorced. Divorce is a sin. Listen, it's not that way. We're not failing at anything. We fail when we turn to violence. We fail when we turn to hatred. That's when we fail. But finding that middle ground, finding that love, that unconditional love that you always mention, then you win all the time and everybody wins. And that's the whole key to this episode. And thank you again, Lizzie, for everything, for sharing, for being so open and being so you. I love it. I really do.
Of course. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share my story.
Absolutely. Anytime. So I hope everybody found this informational and, maybe you keyed in on a few things. Like I said, not everybody's situation is going to be the same, but think outside the box. I hope everybody's relationship is strong. I hope you're all full of love, and I hope the rest of your life is filled with love and peace and joy. And Lizzie and I will see you again on the next episode. Thank you again for joining us.